Soon, night swept over the British Isles once more, and Wesley was preparing to set off with his train. The air was cold and filled with fog. The guard blew his whistle, and Wesley set off to Leeds on his secret mission. As he puffed through the dark countryside, he thought about Wendell and what he would think if he knew what Wesley was up to. Meanwhile, Wendell was preparing to get some sleep. Scotsman, who had just got back from pulling an express to Easton, back down in the shed next to him. Good evening, Scotsman.
My, you look tired.
I bet I do. Haven't gotten a good night's sleep for ages. Say, where's Wesley?
Oh, him? He's taking his passenger train to Leeds.
It was quite odd, really. What was?
When I passed him on my way back here, I heard him mutter something about the diesel shed.
Wendell thought for a minute, and then gasped. He told Scotsman everything that Wesley had told him earlier that day.
He wouldn't do something that might put the Christmas celebration in danger. Would he?
Oh, yes, he would. Scotsman, when is your next train and where is it going?
My next train goes to the same place Wesley's going, Leeds. And it leaves in about 5 minutes.
Right then. You'll just have to double-head it with me. I've got to stop Wesley before he does something stupid. A few minutes later, Wesley arrived at Leeds.
At last, I've made it. Firemen, uncouple me from the coaches.
The fireman uncoupled Wesley and then climbed back into the cab. Time to go talk to some diesels. He puffed back to the junction, or switched onto the line that led to the diesel shed, and then approached the shed. He whistled loudly to get the diesel's attention. They woke with a start. Wesley's driver and fireman walked away to the foreman's office, leaving the engines alone.
Well, what do we have here? A Holden B12, eh? Come to say Merry Christmas, I'll bet.
Let me ask you something. Have you ever known a Class 42 named Dragon?
So what if we had?
Because I had to watch an old steam engine die on a bridge a few hours ago, and I think that Class 42 had something to do with it.
You'll want to talk about old engines. You're not in your prime.
Let me tell you something.
Why don't you let me tell you something, old teapot? It was probably a good thing that old steam engine was scrapped. You engines are all old, worn out, and useless. Diesels are the future, and soon we will replace you. Dr. Beeching has already decided that.
I'm not owned by that sorry excuse for a railway man.
You actually think that matters? Even railways that want to hold on to you old kettles will want to be rid of you once we diesels take over British railways. The idea of replacing steam engines has been around for a while, and now that plan is being put into motion. So you see, we don't resort to violence to become the sole method of traction in Britain. You're only blaming the new diesel on your railway because you don't want to admit your days are numbered.
What you said gives all the evidence I need to be convinced you're hiding something. I never told you that Dragon was new to our railway, so that means you have met Dragon, and you do know that something is going on.
Listen here, you! I never heard of Dragon until he came to your railway. He comes here quite often. Above from that, news travels quickly among us diesels, so it would be very easy to learn if a diesel was new to this area, or if he had just never been around the sheds when we're here. The other diesels then expressed their agreement in such a way that Wesley would never forget. Suddenly, two loud whistles echoed around the yard as Scotsman and Wendell puffed up to the shed. Wesley, what on earth do you think you're doing?
I'm trying to get some answers on the old engine's demise.
Oh, and did your witch hunt produce any results?
Well, Not really.
I see. I understand how upset you are, but harassing these diesels is no way to fix it.
I suppose you're right. Diesels, I'm sorry, I ruined Christmas Eve for all of you.
And as for you, when an engine comes into your yard demanding answers to a tragedy he thinks you caused, the last thing you need to do is start preaching to him about the end of steam. Yes, it's true. Engines are being withdrawn and killed by torches. Maybe this will happen on our line too, who knows? But one thing I do know is that nothing is crueler than telling an engine that one day he will receive the same fate that his fellow engine received. Death.
The old Holden B-12 whistled once and puffed out of the yard with the other steam engines not far behind. The diesels didn't say a word. Everyone knew Wendell was right. As the steam engines puffed home, Wesley and Wendell changed the mood and talked about the Christmas celebration tomorrow and how good it would be.